Hello, my dears. Daniela here, and welcome to another episode of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. This episode is brought to you by Atto Aesthetics, the #1 coaching company for spa industry professionals wanting to step into the role of spa CEO. And before we jump in, I just need to say thank you to you listening right now. We recently crossed our 300th episode, and my team put together this compilation reel over on Insta. It's all these little clips from way back to like some of our very first episodes up till the present. So special shout out to Allert, who has been our podcast editor since day one. This was like his little baby project. He did that so well. He did such an incredible job. I was just so happy to watch it. And as I was watching it, what was so clear was to see my progression, my improvement year after year. And I'm sharing this with you first and foremost to say thank you for listening, thank you for sharing, thank you for leaving reviews, all the things, because I don't take for granted the incredible work that I get to do each day. But I also want to use this as encouragement for you to just start. Start that thing that's been in the back of your mind that scares you but also excites you. Taking that first step, it's scary. For me, I was like, what if I run out of things to talk about? Or what if I don't have anything interesting to say? Or what if nobody listens, right? All of that came up for me. But there was something inside of me that was like, no, you need to do a podcast. This is the right next step for your business. And it was the right path for me. Now, humans by nature, we are creatures of comfort, right? Our brains want predictability. That's why as entrepreneurs, when we hang out in those uncomfortable moments, our brain's like, hey, what are we doing over here? Why do we want change, right? Better the devil we know than the devil we don't. But hanging out in that uncomfortable is what causes the change in us. It's the transformation that happens that allows us to step into the person that can have a top 50 podcast out of 11,000 in that category, guys. We hang out usually somewhere between 30 and 50 out of 11,000 in the marketing category. That wouldn't have been possible if I didn't start, right? So starting, hanging out in that uncomfortable, doing the thing that scares you, that is what can transform you into the person that can successfully lead a 7-figure spa or even an 8-figure spa if that's your path. Now, there's this beautiful quote that I wrote in my journal, and I've been reading it to myself every single day. It's like an affirmation. It's like food for my soul. And it says, don't fear change, welcome it. Fall in love with the transformation and embrace the beauty of being transformed. I love that. It just hit me so hard. I have no great segue into the topic of our show today. So I'm just going to share that our guest today, Daniel, he's the founder of Mangomint. The conversation was incredible. I am so impressed with him, his company, what he's doing at Mangomint. I quite literally believe will change the spa industry. Now, my intention with booking this episode was really to give all the different various booking softwares the opportunity to come on our podcast to share kind of what makes them great so that all of our listeners who are in a variety of different business models, et cetera, they have the opportunity to easily compare the softwares that are out there just by listening to our show. Now, as I share in the episode, the needs of a solo esthetician are quite different than the needs of a plastic surgeon. So there's definitely multiple options. There's room for a variety of software companies. However, if you are in the mid 6 figures and above, so maybe like 400,000 or 500,000 and above, if you've got a team or planning to have a team, I would highly recommend that you seriously consider this software. Okay. So as you'll hear in the episode, I got really excited about the integrations and the functionality, and really the direction that this company is going. I didn't know very much about Mangomint going into the episode. I wanted to just kind of hear it firsthand, but oh my gosh, what they're doing knocked my socks off. So let me just do a quick read of Daniel's bio, and then we'll jump right into the episode. All right, so Daniel is the co-founder and CEO of Mangomint, a salon and spa software company that's on a mission to make itself invisible. Prior to that, Daniel worked in the tech and startup world and helped create one of the largest online communities for artists and creative people. So he understands tech. You'll hear more about him talking about he's on a mission to make the software invisible. No creating an account to book an appointment online, all of those types of things. It's incredible. So without further ado, let's go ahead and play that interview. All right, Daniel, I'm so excited to have you here on the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. Welcome. You told me before the show this was your very first podcast. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And as I mentioned before, been listening to a bunch of episodes of your podcast and just a big fan of your content. So
thank you. So we've got you here today as a part of a very special series that we've been doing on spa booking softwares, because that is one of the questions that we get all of the time is, what do you recommend for a software? And that's a really hard question for us to answer because there's so many different niches. Like a plastic surgeon is not going to use the same software as a solo SD, right? So we wanted to create a resource where it would be super easy for our listeners to hear straight from the product or the software company, kind of their mission, their culture, what their features are, really laying out like what makes their software unique so that our listeners can find it, get to know, get exposure, and then really make a choice of what is going to make the most sense for them. So your company is called Mangomint. Tell me about it. What's your mission? Why did you start it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first things first, we are a salon and spa software company. So we do everything from booking appointments, taking payments, managing the workers in the spa, as well as communicating to clients. I would say we are one of the newer companies. So we've been around just a little over 5 years now. And we tend to focus more on kind of like the growing spas in the world. So most of our customers would have anywhere between 10 to 15, maybe 20 workers at the spa. That's kind of like where our sweet spot is. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we have that is because we're really focused on this idea of how can we use what we call smart automations in order to help with some of the efficiencies that you have in a spa of that size. So a lot of times when people come to us, it's because, hey, they have maybe 2 or 3 people at the front desk and they're thinking about, can I do it with only one person? Or maybe they're just on at the size where, it doesn't quite make sense yet to have a full-time manager. And so a lot of these owners come to us to basically get more efficiency and make running the business easier. And that's kind of what we like to stay focused on. Mm-hmm. The other thing I would say about Mangomint is that we try to be the best designed product in the industry. So we go the extra mile when it comes to polishing the edges, really making sure that visually, but also the way it feels to both the clients as well as the professionals, mm-hmm. It's really high quality. That sometimes takes, some extra work. You have to be really dedicated to it. Our approach has always been, let's not have the most features, but have really thoughtful features and make sure they are really high quality. So talk
to me some more. I love this word efficiencies. That makes me very happy. So what are some of these efficiencies that you're talking about in the software? How can they make the spa owner's life easier?
Absolutely. And I'll give you a very practical example. We have this feature called Express Booking, which our customers love because what we've noticed is, obviously online booking has been around for a very long time now. It's not a new thing anymore. But even though everybody understands on the business side the benefits of online booking, what we see today is still that somewhat around 60 to 65% of appointments get booked over the phone. Mm-hmm. So 10, 15 years into having online booking, the majority of appointments still happen over the phone. And if you go to a really nice spa, which is something I do very often, especially as I travel across the country, usually the experience is hey, I would love to come in for my facial on Saturday. They're great, we got you a spot at 3 p.m. All I need is your first name, last name, your email address, your phone number. Oh, and by the way, we have a cancellation policy, which is yada, yada, yada. And I'm going to need your credit card. So would you please give me your credit card details over the phone? That whole interaction probably took like 4 or 5 minutes to get just the information over. And it's not pleasant for the front desk manager. It's not pleasant for the client. Nobody likes, reading off credit card numbers. So we said, why is it that we have all of this tech? Why can we not automate this process a little bit better? Still having the human experience of talking to a real person on the phone, but at the same time, use the tech where it makes sense. So the way this would work in a Mangomint spa is you would call and they would be like, great, I got you in Saturday, 3 p.m. And Daniela, please look at your phone right now. You're going to get a text message where you would complete the details, enter your credit cards in order to complete the booking. So enter
I love that.
your email address, your credit card. If you have an iPhone, it's like pre-filled. You can use Apple Pay. All of that information happens very quickly, and you just save the business 2 or 3 minutes for that one booking.
And especially if you have, like for me with my last name, Warner, it's WOER. That people just can't get it. They always want to say WA or WO. And so like the going through the spelling of the name for the email address takes forever, right? So taking that efficiency for, getting rid of human error of trying to hear over the phone. And especially if you're speaking with someone that English is not their first language, to try and pronounce the letters, there's always it just makes it a little more challenging. So I love that you can just do it yourself there.
There's also another practical benefit, which is everybody had clients where they unfortunately had to charge the cancellation fee, whatever it is, 50%, 100%. And then oftentimes what would happen is the client calls the credit card company and says, hey, I would like to dispute this fee. And usually, unless you have some kind of proof as a business, you don't actually win those things. Usually you just have to accept, okay, this money is gone. I'm never going to see it again. Well, it turns out that if you use this express booking feature, we actually, can make sure that we have a record of the client seeing the cancellation policy and they have to agree to it. So it makes a huge difference when it comes to those situations in order to win those disputes.
Yeah. And that's huge because I've known, clients and then including ourselves where we have a contract, we have documentation. If you have all of those things, you do win those disputes. You do keep the money, which, obviously I understand the necessity for those for fraud and for, but if someone is just doing it out of spite because they don't want to pay a cancellation fee, it's not what you agreed to. Right. So that's great. That's great.
That's kind of like the first piece, right? Like booking, making that as efficient as possible. And of course, we also invest a ton in our online booking. People always come to us and say, wow, I didn't know that online booking could be this easy. So one of the things, for instance, that differentiates us there is that we do not have logins. So if you book your treatment, you do not have to create the login and confirm your email address. There's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes to make that possible. But the end result is that booking an appointment with one of our spa customers just feels very natural. It also happens inside the website. And a lot of our spas are really focused on branding, making sure there's a consistent experience across all of the different touch points with their clients. So we can customize the colors, we can use their logo and make it really feel like, it's an extension of the existing.
So it's embedded in there. So when you click book now, you're not being redirected to another website.
Exactly.
I love that.
And the clients are your clients. So we do not ask them to sign up for our platform and download the Mangomint app. Like we see ourselves as if we do our job really well, people don't even notice that we are there. So our mission is this idea of making salon and spa software invisible. And what we really mean by that is, starting from an understanding that, or at least our belief that people don't get up in the morning and say, hey, I need more of that sweet AI in my life. I need more machine learning in my life, right? That's usually not the things that spa and salon owners say to us, right? What they want to do is, hey, they want to get work done. They want to do their best job, and tech oftentimes gets in the way. So our approach has always been, how can we remove ourselves from that equation? And we're not there yet. Like, it's going to be a long journey, but best case scenario, you don't even know that we are there.
So I've got a couple of questions. So talk to me about scheduling, because I know that's a question. You said that you work best with teams of around 10. Is that 10 providers, or is that 10 just employees in the location? And then in regards to scheduling, we get questions all the time. How am I, like, if you have a provider that works certain hours this week and different hours, does your software do anything to accommodate that?
Yes. So to answer your first question, it's usually around, there's no hard limit. Like, we have, probably a few hundred customers that have less than 5 providers as well. But the vast majority would have somewhere around like 10 to 20 providers. Okay. And that's usually the sweet spot. Oftentimes that means they have perhaps 2 or 3 people working the front desk. They have 1 manager, if it's not the owner themselves. And everybody uses the system in some way. So we have native apps for both iOS and Android. Unlike some of the other software companies, we have 100% of the functionality on all platforms. So you could, in theory, run your entire business, including reports and all the most advanced settings, from your iPhone or Android phone. And that was one of the things that was always important to us from the beginning, to make sure that it's not like a great experience on the computer, but not such a great experience on the phone. And in fact, we do have lots of owners now, some of them absentee owners, where they might have been an esthetician themselves at one point. They opened a business, and then over time, they were successful enough that now they can afford to only work 2 days a week, perhaps, right?
We've got a lot of those people in our community. Yeah.
And isn't that ideal, right? Like, if
we call them work optional. Once you get to work optional, right? Because you don't have to, you get to, right? And that's a completely different energy that you bring to your practice.
And I love that. But in our experience, a lot of times, even if you are in that situation, which is fantastic, you still want to make sure that things are okay.
And yeah, 100%.
Manager, but being able to just take a look on your phone and see your business, even though you are not physically there, is something that a lot of our customers really value. Yes. Okay.
So I don't know if I heard the answer to this or not, though, but with the scheduling, how are you actually doing that with your providers that are actually seeing clients? Do they have a set schedule that's in there? Are you able to change it easily? How does that work?
Yes. So basically, you can do both. You can do a recurring schedule where you say, I'm going to work every Tuesday from 10 to 5. But you can also change it every week. And you can also have overrides. So you can have a set schedule and say, okay, but I'm going to take this day off, or I'm going to open up that other day. So it's kind of up to you. There's a ton of flexibility in terms of how you can structure that. I mean, we have lots of different customers that have hybrid business models where, they might be doing a little bit of skincare, but they might also do nails, or they might also be even providing hair services, right? So for them, it's really important that they have this flexibility of scheduling their workers however they like. And also, depending on what business model it is, they may even give the permissions to the worker to do it themselves. So imagine if you're a booth renter, because you are technically your own business, you're supposed to set your own hours. And from a salon's perspective, all you need to do is give them the permission, and then they can completely schedule themselves as well through the app or on the computer if they prefer. So everything is possible. For our skincare studios, we also have virtual locations. So, during the pandemic a couple of years ago, many of our customers that usually provide, facials and regular skincare, they switched to online consultations. But packages, they all spun up like a Shopify, and we built a Shopify integration, which has become very popular. But everybody, had a virtual thing going on. And so now we support that as well, where if you have a virtual location, you can also run it through Mangomint.
So talk to me about some of your integrations. You mentioned a Shopify integration. Something that we're really passionate about and care about a lot is digital marketing. And, with emails and landing pages and funnels and all of that, it's challenging to do everything well. Like it's such a complex task to just build a booking software that can give you the reporting, but then to also have the digital component as well. So with the Shopify integration, I imagine, Shopify works with Klaviyo a lot. Do you have a Klaviyo integration, or are you doing like emails, or how are you doing digital marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that I always tell spa owners when I talk to them and they're just getting started in like the marketing space, right, is I always tell them, like, crawl, walk, run. Like, if you don't do any email marketing today, don't go from doing nothing to the most sophisticated like sequences and segmenting, right? Like just start somewhere and then build on top of that. And the way we think about that progression from doing no marketing to being very sophisticated is that we have different integrations for each of the stages where you are at in your marketing journey. So for the very basic use case, we have a MailChimp integration that pretty much just like in real time synchronizes your client database from Mangomint with MailChimp, so that if you have an announcement, you can go into MailChimp, you can hit send, and it goes out to everybody. You don't have to import any CSV files.
That is amazing. Like we have been teaching, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, you guys. This is the only way that I know. Export CSV, import CSV, that the front desk is like doing that every Friday to send out their list. So you guys actually have the automatic integration.
We do, and it's in real time. It's literally like 2 seconds after a client books, they pop up in MailChimp. And
oh my God, that would sell me right there. That alone would literally sell me right there. That's huge. Okay, so is it just MailChimp, or do you guys work with ConvertKit or any of the other softwares?
Totally. So the MailChimp, is kind of like that simple use case. And then as you get more advanced with your marketing, we have some customers that say, hey, whenever somebody signs up for a facial membership, I want to send them a custom sequence, first of all, thanking them for being a valued member, but then also send them a sequence where 2 weeks in, they get this message. And maybe it talks about like, how to take care of your skin after you had a facial. 4 weeks in, maybe it introduces them to some products that you might be selling at your spa. And those sequences ideally are specific to who the client is and what services they have received from you. And once you start getting into that, there's a whole world of marketing tools out there. You mentioned Klaviyo. We love Klaviyo. I think it's a fantastic tool. And especially for those spas that use Shopify already, Klaviyo is a really good fit because Klaviyo and Shopify talk really well together.
Yes.
But we can integrate with Klaviyo as well through something that we call webhooks. And you can literally go in and say, I want to send an event. This is getting a little bit technical. I want to send an event to Klaviyo every time a client books a brow lamination. Every time a client.
So it's not just here's my 7 email sequence that automatically they're going to get on day 1, on day 3. It actually has if-then rules or like triggers.
Exactly.
If they have the brow lamination, then send them this. My gosh. And you guys, you have no idea how huge this is. This is such a big deal. This is such a big deal.
And this is kind of like the advanced stage of marketing, right? Like when you are at that level, that can happen because now marketing starts to feel personal to the clients. And we love that. We have a lot of customers that are very passionate about FlowDesk. I don't know if you've come across that tool, but it's another one of those that makes it really easy to design beautiful emails. And you can also do sequences. So we have an integration through Zapier with FlowDesk as well. But we've also used MailChimp more recently, started to get into the sequence campaigns a little bit as well. And so we have integrations with that as well. But the basic idea is always the same, that you basically decide what you care about. And it could be somebody booked a service. So perhaps they came in for the 3rd time. And that's the data that needs to get sent. And then as a marketer, you can go in and say, I want this to happen. And it doesn't even have to be email, right? especially with Klaviyo, which is very good with text messaging, it could be a combination. So you could say, I'm going to send a text message the day after somebody had their very first facial, and it says, hey, so awesome that you had your first facial with us yesterday. How was your experience? Do you have any concerns? And you can send it as a text message or an email. So it becomes really powerful.
I love that. So my next question was going to be about text. So is all of the texting capabilities, is that dependent upon the integrations that are happening with your company?
Yes. So we have all the texting built in around appointments and checking out and all of that stuff. So you don't have to worry about that. That's completely inside Mangomint. Once you get into marketing texting, it becomes a little more interesting because in the US and also in Canada, carriers are very much concerned about, all the spam that's going on. So there are actually new rules that are just coming into effect, I think literally next week, where in effect, you now have to register as a business with your tax ID, EIN number, and disclose all kinds of information before you're allowed to send out marketing messages to anybody in the US or Canada. You can ignore it, but you run the risk of getting blocked by a carrier like Verizon or T-Mobile. And when that happens, obviously you completely lose because now you can't get through it all. So we are currently working on a way to help our customers with that registration and make it as automated as possible. So once we're done with that, hopefully in a few weeks, you'll be able to register your own local phone number inside of Mangomint and be in compliance with all of those anti-spam rules in the US.
Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible. All right. So talk to me about tell me a little bit more about who your ideal client is. I know you said, the size of the company, but is that where I'm getting at is a plastic surgeon versus a solo? Who is the business? What is the business that's really going to be
totally.
This is everything? Yeah.
So I know you have your 40% payroll, 30% overhead.
15 tax, 15 profit. Yep.
15 profit.
In general. Yeah.
We're trying to shrink that 30% piece, that 30% overhead piece. So that means you need to have overhead to begin with, right? If you are a solo esthetician, chances are your overhead isn't that big to begin with. But if you grow a little bit, and it's not so much like the exact number of employees you have, it's more like, do you have overhead and can we make that more efficient? I gave that example of express booking earlier, but the express booking is really just one out of 2 or 3 steps in that client journey. And we try to touch all of them. So for instance, there's I just recently talked to a new customer in Colorado. They run a 6-room spa that focuses mostly on hair removal, waxing, sugaring, that sort of thing. And she had a full-time front desk person at the front desk because unlike in a hair salon, you're in a room, right? You can't constantly look at the door and notice when somebody walks in. So what do? And so we have a feature that's also pretty unique to us. We call it virtual waiting room, where essentially 15 minutes before the appointment, it would say, hey, Daniela, your appointment with Addo Spa is about to start. When you get here, please press this button to let us know that you have arrived. So the esthetician or the waxer would get a notification on their phone that says, hey, your next client, Daniela, is here. Here's her history. And you can automate that process. So you can say, hey, I want to send a message to the client automatically that says, please take a seat outside, we'll be right with you. And what it allowed that spa to do is to basically say, all right, on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, when I'm not as busy as throughout the weekends, I can afford to not have anybody at the front desk. I can lock the door and use this fully automated system. And, I can run the business that way.
Yeah, I think where that's really helpful is, I am a big advocate for human connection, but a lot of times we'll have, and especially as spas kind of expand their hours and get into the split shift that I talk about a lot, the 9 to 3, 3 to 9 to really expand capacity. Sometimes it's just that 6 to 9 time that like, you can have the full-time person, but to avoid hiring another front desk to fill in those gaps, that could be, or just like, have them in the middle of the day. So it's only an hour in the beginning or at the end of the day to really save, and saving in that payroll. I like your answers.
You're spot on. Like, that's exactly what we hear from our customers so many times, right? Where it's not about replacing humans. It's about, most people leave at 7 and 2 estheticians are still here. Do I need to also have a front desk person there while the estheticians still finish their clients? And kind of like the last step of that journey is oftentimes, taking the payment. And, a lot of our spas that do facials and other skincare services, they use a feature we call Selfcheckout. And not the best name because it sounds like the thing in the grocery store. But it has nothing to do with that at all. What it is, you're in the treatment room, you just finished your service. And instead of walking the client to some sort of like front desk and ringing their credit card and signing there, you just press a button on your phone and it sends a message to the client that says, hey, thanks so much for your service. Please pay for your service here. And I like to compare it with Uber, where you can just select the tip amount, 10, hopefully not 10, but like 15, 20, 25%. So you pick the tip amount, you hit pay and you're out. You don't even need a front desk in those situations at all. And a lot of our spa customers have memberships. And what they always complain about is, hey, I have facial memberships. Regularly, I would charge 140. If you're a member, it effectively costs you 120, but then clients don't tip me. Because in their heads, they don't know what 20% is, right? So we have a feature for that too, where even in those scenarios, you can press a button and it shows them the total with the price that the service was valued at, and they can still select 20%. So a lot of these estheticians say, oh my God, it's great, I'm getting way more tips now that I'm using that self-checkout feature.
Oh, that's so great. All right, let's talk about reporting. Because this is, I'm a numbers girl. I'm a lover of spreadsheets. I want to know the real data and to really understand and make it as easy as possible for the spa owner. I care a lot about retail to service. I care a lot about client purchase percentage. I care about new client retention, total client retention. What do you have? What kind of reporting software do you guys have?
Totally. And I was actually listening a few months ago to your KPI podcast, and I thought it was a really great one for any spa owner to understand, because so many times when we talk to our customers, it's similar to the marketing journey, right? Where if you don't look at any reports right now, it's better to start looking at some reports that you can quickly understand and start to feel comfortable. And then you can drill into the more advanced ones. So our reports, I think we have like 30, 40 reports now. I don't know what the number is at the moment, but essentially they try to allow you to do that. So if you don't look at any numbers right now, start with the basics, right? Like start with hey, what is you mentioned retail to service percentage, right? What is my number of new clients that I got this month? But then for those customers that want to get a little bit deeper and want to understand a little bit better, hey, what's going on here? We have some, what we call business intelligence reports. I personally love them because they tell a beautiful story and you can learn so much from them, but they need a little bit more time to really understand what they mean. And my most favorite one is new client retention over 90 days, because it basically tells you pretty much exactly is your business growing, yes or no? And what it does is it looks at all the new clients that came in one time period, for the first time, how many of them came back within 90 days? It's such a simple number, but if you know that number, then is my marketing actually doing something, right? Because if it turns out that you only have 20% new client retention, you can spend so much money on Facebook ads and marketing initiatives, but you have a leaky bucket, right? Like your clients aren't coming back.
It's a problem with your team, not with your marketing. You're getting the people in, but not keeping them there. So it's important to know what the problem is to be able to fix it.
Right. And to your question, it's the problem with your team. We break that down per service provider. And
Okay.
you're amazed how consistent those numbers are when you compare them month to month, where you might have two estheticians doing the same types of services, and yet one of them is constantly at 40%, the other one's at 60%. That's an opportunity for you as a spa owner to go in and say, hey, maybe I can offer that person some extra training. Maybe I can talk to them. Like, what is it that they could do better to also get to the 60%? Mm-hmm. So it starts with understanding, do I have a problem? To then being able to go in and say, okay, what is the reason why we have that problem and how can I do something about it?
So you mentioned that a lot of your clients have memberships. Are there any specific membership reports, or how are we tracking any of that?
Yes. There's the basic stuff of like, how many members do you have on different plans? A lot of our customers like to have 2 or 3 different plans that people can sign up for. There's everything around how many did you sell, how many were redeemed. One of the things that is often not talked about, it's kind of like one of those secrets that we can talk about it because we are inside, but people don't say it too often, is memberships, just like gift cards, a lot of times go unused. Mm-hmm. So sometimes people would say to us, why should I do a membership? I'm getting paid $140 for a facial right now. If I sign up a client on a membership, I'm only getting $120. And the answer is,
I can talk a lot about that, but yes.
and of course, it's like there's a different level of loyalty that pays off and all of that stuff. But one other element is that only 80 to 90% of your memberships actually get used. So whatever discount you gave on that membership price, you already made up for it from people who pay for a membership and don't even use it. Everybody, has some kind of subscription. I know I do. I probably signed up to way too many streaming services in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I probably pay for some kind of streaming service that I don't use. Mm-hmm. And for some people, that's okay. For some people, it's like, whatever, I might come back. And just because I'm going on vacation, don't need a facial this month, I'm not going to cancel my membership this month, but I'm also not going to get 2 facials next month because I only need one, right? So mm-hmm. for a lot of people, it's this thing where it's like, it's okay, and they're okay with it. And that's extra money that you get to keep as a business owner. We could get really deep into like how the taxes work, because that's also interesting. But at the end of the day, we found that memberships are a really great tool, especially for spas that have recurring services to build loyalty, and it creates a really good relationship between them and the clients.
I think pretty much every spa that we have supported into the 7 figures, and we work with hundreds of spas, they have had memberships.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
We're very big. We're very big with memberships. We're very big with events, and then digital marketing. Those are kind of our 3 big pieces, but membership is crucial.
Sorry.
I was just going to ask, do you guys have any kind of reporting around churn rate or anything like that with membership, or is that a little too granular for a booking software?
We don't have it right now, but I'm very open to it because I do think it's very important to look at those numbers. I think it's something we need to invest in more. Memberships is relatively new for us still. We introduced it about a year ago. And so a lot of the things that we've been adding over the last year since we introduced the feature has been going more in that direction of like, hey, how can we make this better for our customers? And I definitely think we need to add some extra reporting around that, because you could get into some really interesting subscription metrics. But the one thing I wanted to add is, I know you're really big on like getting your listeners and your clients to $1 million spa. If you do the math, $1 million spa is $83,000 a month. Yep. And half of that, is just over $40,000 a month. If you have facials as a membership, which is the classic example, and you charge $120, which is probably the most common price that we see amongst our spa customers, you only need $350 to have half of the way to the $1 million spa ready. $350 sounds a lot, but if you really think about how many clients you see every month, it's definitely something that you can do. I mean, we have customers that have thousands of members every month. 350 is achievable, and if you have that, how great would it be if half of your $1 million spa was on a recurring thing? And you could
it's when we start with memberships with a spa, it's like, all right, well, what are your no kidding expenses to keep the doors open? And that's our first goal, because taking the pressure off of, no matter what, I'm not starting at zero next month. I know that for this amount of time, I can track my cash flow. And for at least the next 3 months or 6 months or whatever your timeline is, I know that the doors are going to be open. I can make database decisions and not be worried about, with reasonable certainty, right? There's always whatever, 1% to 3% that can cause a little trouble, but it's just a different energy that you're approaching your business from, with having a knowing and a certainty of what this month is going to look like. So yeah, we're big fans of memberships. And honestly, a lot of the spas that we're working with are doing memberships at $149, $159, $179. So it really pushes that number even lower of how many you need.
One other aspect, just one thing I would add to it is, when you try to sell retail, let's say you are trying to sell skincare products, it's a lot easier if the client in that moment doesn't also have to pay for a $150 service, because in there,
100%.
I'm not making a $50 purchase now for this one product. I'm actually making a $200 purchase because I also have a $150 service in it, right? So if that is already prepaid, the willingness, the openness to have a conversation.
It's psychological, but it's so true.
Yes.
So true. Okay. I had something else I was going to ask. Retail, how are you keeping track of inventory inside of your software? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a Shopify integration with that too. You can basically, set up as many products in Mangomint as you want. There really is no limit. And we can also synchronize that in real time with a Shopify account. So as I mentioned earlier, during the pandemic, a lot of our spas and salons started selling products online. And it's really important that when you sell products online, that you have it in stock, actually, because
Yes.
order something and you can't ship it, that's not a good situation. So what our integration in this case does, for instance, is if a client purchases a product in the store, it immediately gets taken out of the inventory, and it also gets taken out of Shopify. But anything that you need to do in terms of sending purchase orders, reordering products, you can do that through Mangomint as well.
And kind of a different track here. What about payroll? Do you have a Gusto integration, or how are you doing payroll for your providers?
We have something coming there. I don't think I can talk too much about it yet.
Okay. The idea is there.
Yes, there will be an automation. It is currently in a pilot program, but we will be making an announcement there pretty soon, in the next few months.
Okay. Love it. Anything else that I'm not asking about this software that you feel is important for a spa owner to know?
Yeah. The one thing I would say is, kind of aligned with our mission of making salon and spa software invisible is, we care a lot about people, and we care a lot about not being a tech company. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times, we see these companies talk about AI and machine learning and chatbots, right? I, as a consumer, never want to talk to a chatbot. Every time I call an airline or phone service or whatever, and it's a chatbot, I'm like, oh my God, please don't, right? Just connect me to a person. I really don't want to do this. And it's amazing to me that somehow in this industry of beauty and wellness, which is all about, feeling good, looking good, and all of that stuff, we have gotten to a place where chatbots and AI is a cool thing. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. So you will never, and this is a promise, you will never from Mangomint hear that we have introduced a chatbot or that we have done something. What we are about is we want to make the human piece more effective. And there can be things that, tech can do to make that easier, right? But we're never gonna go in a direction where, hey, now we have a chatbot that books the appointments for you. So that's one thing that I think, people really appreciate about us. That's sort of like a human design that we bring to it. And it's been very important to us since the beginning.
I love that. So for our listeners that want to learn more about Mangomint, we'll include links below this episode, but what should be their first step? Do you guys do calls? Should they go to your website? How do they learn more about getting involved with your company?
Absolutely. We are super easy to find. It's just mangomint.com. And, it's really up to the person how they want to engage with us. If you prefer to just get in there and play around with the system, we have a trial that comes pre-filled with demo data. So for instance, if you say you do skincare and injectable services, we will instantly give you an account that takes all but 1 minute to sign up with all of those services filled in with a demo calendar. So you can go in, play around, see what it's like. However, if you are somebody who wants to talk to someone first, you can go in and immediately book a time on our calendar. There's no qualifying step or whatever. You can see our calendar right away, and we are there 7 days a week. So if Sunday is the day when you do business stuff, that's totally cool with us. We will be happy to get on a call, screen share with you. And we also have a video. So if you just want to wait a minute, I'm not quite ready for this, I just want to see it first, you can also watch a video on our website. It's really about however you would like to explore it. And one of the other things that I feel like we do very differently than some of the other players in the space is we don't have contracts. We never will have contracts. So you can sign up and there's a 30-day free trial. And that free trial includes everything, including data migration and everything, because we want you to make the decision yourself and not sign a 12 months agreement like so many of our competitors do, where you're then damn, now I'm stuck in that thing and it's not quite what I was hoping it is, but I've already signed that agreement, so I guess I'll stick around. We don't do any of that. Even if you did go past the 30 days and started paying us and you're like, hey, I've changed my mind, we will give you your money back. And so a lot of it is about allowing you to buy and allowing you to explore Mangomint however it works best for you, and not saying, hey, this is the one way you have to book a demo, or else there's no way you can talk to us. So whatever is best for you.
That's incredible. Incredible. I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing this information, guys. Check this out. I mean, I'm going to check it out myself, but it sounds like, I've been saying whoever figures out how to connect digital marketing with a great booking software is going to be insanely successful. And it sounds like that is exactly what you guys are doing. So I'm so excited to share your software with our listeners. Definitely check it out. And as always, if you want to keep the conversation going, head on over to the Spa Marketing Made Easy Facebook group, and we'll catch you on the next episode.